to show their appreciation of Frank's achievement. He's touring the streets of London in an open-top bus. This is the planned route. They leave from Marble Arch fairly soon. The bus then travels down Oxford Street to Oxford Circus. Although we hear the parade may have to divert around a couple of back streets because of a broken water main today in Oxford Street. It then is due to go down Regent Street, through Piccadilly Circus and to Haymarket, and finally they'll finish off in style at Trafalgar Square. Well, the bus due to leave any minute now, and our reporter Helen Morton is at the start at Marble Arch. Good afternoon to you, Helen.
Hello to you from Marble Arch. Well, as you can see behind me, there's great excitement building up here. Thousands of fans have turned out to see their hero. Frank Bruno arrived a few moments ago. He's just getting himself ready for the tour on the bus. He's armed, of course, with his heavyweight belt, which he's keen to show off to the fans. He says that today really is for his fans, for the 40,000 people that watched him at Wembley, and also for the millions of people that watched the fight on Sky. Well, let's take you straight now to the open-top bus, and our sports correspondent, Mark who's with Bruno.
Thanks very much indeed, Helen. It's chaos here on the bus at the moment. We've been around for some half an hour. Frank has had to do endless interviews again, as he's had to do all week. Very shortly we'll be pulling away from here, making our way, as you say, to Marble Arch, and then down Oxford Street, and then around through to Regent Street, up Haymarket hopefully, and then on to Trafalgar Square. And the whole family are here. Laura is just in front of me here. She's clutching something that I bet you've hardly had away from you for the last week or so, Laura.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, what a magnificent week it's been, hey?
Yes, it's been totally different, I think, this week. It's lovely, though. It's well worth it. It's well worth it.
I mean, when the two of you got on your own together, I mean, you've put up with a lot, and there's been a lot of sacrifices from both of you over the many years, haven't there?
A lot of blood, sweat and tears, but that makes it all worth it.
And he's going to go on?
He's down there in the parking.
What about for the family too? Because not only the British fans feel they're part of that family, you as a linchpin have had to sort of mix everything together. I mean, you played a massive role in this.
Yeah, juggle everything. It's possible, it can be done. Organised chaos all the time, but that's life.
Did you ever think it would all come true?
I knew it would. I knew you'd get this one day. Yeah.
Well, just here, if we can move across, is Nicola. Nicola Bruno. Hi, Nicola. Well, you must be proud of your dad too. The fight last week, and then all of this and everything, and you've really, I suppose, as a family, been close, and then had to get even closer to sort of cope with everything. Any thoughts on today? What are you looking forward to this?
Yeah.
Okay. Just says a little bit less than her dad. And then we've got Rachel this side. Let me just introduce you to little Rachel, who's here, looking gorgeous as ever too. Hi, Rachel. What about this then? An open-top bus with your dad? Looking forward to it? Big thing to tell all your friends. Okay. Now, there's no Franklin Jr., obviously, but he's
too young, and the weather's not.
But a vital part of the family, of course.
Oh, very much so, yeah. If he'd been a little bit older, he would have come along.
Okay. Well, look, we'll speak to you later, Laura. Really enjoy your day, too. There we are. The bell's tolled exactly at midday, and here we go. And there are many fans here, of course, who've made the trip into the centre of London, who are looking and waiting for Frank. And there's the big man himself. And alongside Frank Bruno, of course, Frank Warren. We'll be getting to speak to all of these people throughout this trip. And here's Frank. He's picking my pocket. Hey, what about this, Frank?
Yeah, very nice.
This looks
Mark.
good, hey?
Very nice. The rain don't look good. Hello there, all right?
Well,
all right there? Nice one. Hello there, all right? Nice one, mate. Cheers.
I suppose we could say rain for a reigning world champion. You know,
Hello there,
Frank.
all right?
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Hello there, all right? Hello there, mate. All right. All right.
This is a big thank you to your many fans.
You need to say that, and I'd like to thank them personally for myself.
Okay, well, you're joining us now in Great Cumberland Place. The Bruno entourage coming up. Let's take a look now.
Bruno!
See it in the distance. See the open-top bus with Bruno at the front, wearing his WBC heavyweight belt. Thousands of fans have gathered here at Marble Arch to see him. He's just slowly making his way up Great Cumberland Place, and then he'll do a tour around Marble Arch, a victory circle before he makes the rest of the parade down to Trafalgar Square. Thousands of people here very excited about his arrival, very keen to catch a glimpse of their hero. Here he comes. He's joined on the bus today with many members of his family. His mum's there, his two daughters. Here he goes, going by us now. as you can hear, the crowd's absolutely going mad. Bruno's there at the front of the bus, showing his belt off to the fans, waving, supported by his mother, his two daughters, Rachel and Nicola, and also his wife, Laura.
Okay, well, here we are then, back on the bus, and Frank at the head of affairs. Frank, already the people out to see you there, and
very, very
it's great to see you.
nice turnout. I only thought about 10 people come out. Nice feeling, very, very nice.
You have worked so hard for this over your 13 years.
Very, very. I think it's about 16 years all in all that I started boxing, but you know, I think God blessed me, and I worked hard, and a good team behind. It was wicked. Hello there, all right? Hello.
You see, the whole point of this is that Frank Bruno, unlike many other world heavyweight champions, has had to come up the hard way here. He had those 3 chances of getting to the summit. 3 times he was knocked back. But it was the boxing blood in his veins that kept him going. And last Saturday night, Oliver McCall had no answers. And Frank Bruno thoroughly deserves this moment. There are many other people here that we've got to talk to find out about the life of Frank Bruno. If we could just sort of bring in here. You'll see the pictures as we go round the Marble Arch, and we're going down Oxford Street in a minute. I'd like
kind of cosmopolitan down there.
What do you think, Frank?
Unbelievable, very nice day. Wicked. We're going to get cameras.
So at the front of the bus here, there's Frank Bruno. Not many days in and diving there, Frank.
Michael, hello!
Frank back in the studio, so there's little Rachel on the far side, and Laura, who's been a linchpin, Frank's wife, throughout his whole career, and Nicola, who's really grown up with her dad as a boxer over the many years. They've all tasted the defeat, and now, of course, they can taste this famous victory, and you'll see here, really, the many people that are lining the streets for the people's champion, because that's what Frank Bruno is. He really is the people's champion.
Hello. Hello there. All right. Hello there.
You have to remember too, of course, the enormous amount of sacrifice that men like Frank have had to put in. The pounding on the body, the mental anxiety, and getting... so perfectly. Helen Morton, down by Marble Arch. This is some of Frank's greatest fans.
Well, Jonathan, the bus has just gone by us. There's hundreds and thousands of fans here in Marble Arch. Joining me is one of his fans, Susan. She watched the fight. What did you think to today?
I think it's brilliant. I think it would have been better if he could have stopped a bit more. Besides that, lots of people come here for hours and they wait. But other than that, I think it's been a good turnout.
Did you get a good glimpse of him?
Yes, I did. Just about there.
And what did you make of the fight?
Good fight. I'm not really a big boxing fan, but when it's Bruno, you know, I think it's brilliant. He's done really well.
Okay, well, let's move along the crowd. Why are you here today? To see Bruno. And did you get much of a glimpse of him as he went by?
Yeah.
Did you watch the fight as well?
Yeah.
Is he one of your heroes?
Yeah.
What do you think of him?
He's brilliant.
Well, there you are. That's the verdict of the fans here at Marble Arch. Now back to you in the studio.
Helen, thanks very much indeed. There's tremendous scenes down there in West London, massive crowd. So with me is Claude Abrams from the Boxing News. Good afternoon to you, Claude. Be honest, did you ever think that this was going to be a day for Frank Bruno when he had that belt in his hands?
No, to be honest, I didn't ever think that would become reality. Bruno had failed 3 times, and to think he'd get a 4th try at the title was remarkable in itself.
It is amazing to see so many people out on the streets this morning, to see a guy going around with a piece of leather in his hand. Isn't it? It's tremendous. What an honour for Frank Bruno.
I think it's more than a piece of leather to Frank, but I wonder if they would have got this sort of turnout if Frank had won the title on the previous occasions. I think they genuinely see him as a hero because he has struggled through 3 defeats, and here he's got the title. And I think it's nice that the crowd has shown their appreciation.
Well, Claude, thanks for the minute. We'll come back to you and reflect on Frank's career fairly soon. But let's go live now, back to the bus and Mr. Saggers.
Well, here we are back on the bus with Frank Bruno going down Oxford Street. And Frank Warren, of course, is with us as well. It's really rejuvenated the whole thing, Frank, and you become very much part of all of this in Sports Network too.
It's brilliant, isn't it? The whole thing is such a great day for him. A nicer guy. he deserves it so much. Listen, that's what it's all about, isn't it?
And what we really needed, you know, in Britain was a British world heavyweight champion. And we needed Frank.
A true Brit. We got a true Brit. And that's great, you know, he's here and the crowds are out for him, the people love him. And it couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
I mean, where do we go from here with Frank, too?
Well, at the moment, he's enjoying it, as you can see. And we're not pushing for anything. Whatever he wants to do, he will do. You know, I said to everybody, he's the boss, he's behind the driving seat. And if he wants to fight on, I'm with him. If he wants to retire today, he's got my 100% support. Because he has done so well, and he's fulfilled a dream. And that's what it's all about.
You know, we were sort of looking at the fight last night between Collins and Eubank. And George Francis made the point, actually, that the difference perhaps between a Eubank and a Bruno is that he's able to mix all of these different personality pieces together in the right way, where Chris Eubank sort of lost it all, and at the end of the day forgot the most important thing was boxing in the ring.
And the public. I mean, the public. You know, you've got to be accessible to the public. Chris is a nice guy, but, you know, Frank, the nation wars them. I mean, he's just gone and achieved his dream. He went out and everybody. And after the fight, I mean, I didn't believe this was going to be this. After the fight, the publicity and everything, which is superb. It's like Bruno, like England winning the World Cup. Back in '66 when I was a real young kid.
Of course, the big talk is about Tyson if he does want to go on. That perhaps is something that everybody'd like to see.
Well, Frank certainly, you know, he said he wants to fight. There's a few things got to be sorted out before then. We've got a bit of a way to go. Tyson's fighting on the 4th of November in Vegas. And if that does happen, it certainly won't be until next year sometime.
Well, you can hear the chants of Bruno, Bruno as we pass Selfridges here in Oxford Street. Just a little bit of rain, but that won't worry the reigning WBC World Heavyweight Champion. Frank, really, I suppose in a way for you too, with the deals that have been set up in the last year, we've had a breath of fresh air in British boxing. It's sort of turned around again, hasn't it?
It has. I mean, it's great. We've got some great fighters there. You know, Nigel Benn, Nassim, Steve Collins is not British, he's Irish, but Jim last night. There's lots of great guys around. Loading line, good young guys coming through. And it's great, you know, it's just a great time for the sport.
An exciting scene to be in at the moment. Let's see if we can just get another word with Big Frank as well at the moment. Frank, this is fantastic, eh?
Yes, Mark, unbelievable. You're very, very nice. It's very nice to turn out. And the fans, I only thought there was about 10 people going to turn out today, you know what I mean? I had to pay some people to come and make it look good, but they're nice. Hello, brother, how are you? Very good.
You've talked about
hello,
the influence.
How are you? Cheers, sorry, Mark.
Talked about the influence, Frank, of your family and your dad and everything. It's really been the whole career and the whole family thing has sort of mapped out perfectly.
Yeah, it couldn't have happened at a better time, you know what I mean? And everything's worked well, you know?
We talk about family.
Yeah.
Here's Lynette, your mum.
Hello, Mum, all right?
I don't know if we can see. Lynette, we'll actually talk to you while Frank's there. I mean, what a boy, hey?
Michael, hello.
You always think he had it in him?
Yep, cheers. Hello. All right.
He always said, you know, when he was a young boy, when he was 8 and 9, and he used to come home and boxing was sort of in his blood there.
Yeah.
You could see all that, could you?
Michael! All right. Cheers. Michael! Hello there, Mike.
When he was about 8, 9 months old, you put him in the car. And when you think that he's in the car, he would be around the kitchen.
Double time.
Come down the car.
Hello there, all right.
And then just come out and on his own way.
He's a nice man, too.
Very nice.
Hello.
He's down to earth. That's the most thing that I appreciate.
Hello there, all right. Mitsubishi.
Lynette, here we are. Look, I mean, look at this. There's a bus in front that is absolutely packed with
hello there, all right.
People lining Oxford Street as we go down, all wanting to wave at your boy.
I like your haircut.
All I can give is give God the praise for that.
Yeah, it's somewhere. I'm not
He made the way.
Where do you think he's found that extra strength from to continue as well? Is it important family behind him?
Hello.
The prayer of not only me, but of the church. I think it's a worldwide thing. People pray for him.
Hello there, all right.
Because
hello there. How are you, brother? Pleased to know you.
It is terrific to see that smile. I tell you what, from Frank's biggest fan, probably, that's Lynette, his mum, to some other fans who are enjoying this celebration on Sunday lunchtime. Helen.
Hello there, all right.
Fans here at Marble Arch Arch were absolutely delighted to catch a glimpse of their sporting hero, and I think we've probably found one of Bruno's youngest fans here today. 6-year-old Montana's here, sporting a Bruno cap, and also we can see her banner, "We love Frank, you're the best." Montana, did you see Frank today?
Yeah.
And what did you think to him?
Nice.
Did you think he was nice? Did he wave to you?
Yeah.
Yes. And did you see the belt that he was showing the crowds that he won on Saturday?
Yeah.
Is he your hero? Yes. Well, he's also the hero of lots of other people here today. Let's move now into the crowd. Why are you here today, sir?
I'm here to see Frank Bruno. I'm a great admirer of him. I think he's very good. I watched the fights.
And what did you think to the fight?
I think he's very good. Very strong. They said he had a good punch, and he kept you up all the time, which I enjoyed.
Were you confident all along that he beat Oliver
yes.
McCall?
I told him he was 10 when I met him with saw that in the Big Exercise Massage in Stratford, that he shook hands with me and I said, "You win, I'm Irish." So I said, "I'll give you my Irish look."
And are you looking forward now to a match with Tyson?
Yes, I am, yes. And I think he'll win as well.
And you caught a glimpse of him today?
I think he'll win in the 6th round to Tyson.
You do, excellent, thank you very much. So let's move around the crowd and to you. Why were you here today?
Oh, well, we're from Australia, we're just holidaying and wondering what it was all about. And very impressed to see that Frank Bruno got so much adulation. It was incredible. We'd like to see our champions in Australia get the same adulation.
How is Frank Bruno regarded in Australia?
Well, I haven't been a boxing enthusiast, so I couldn't really say.
But you don't have this sort of outpouring of feeling for your sporting heroes over there?
I wouldn't, not as much as this. No, I wouldn't say as much as this. It was quite an eye-opener for us.
Great. It's nice to see you here today. And here we move on to another younger fan. Why are you here today?
Because my dad likes Frank Bruno and train boxing in the gym.
Ah, and do you enjoy boxing as well? Did you watch Saturday's fight?
No.
No, you didn't? No? But you enjoyed catching a glimpse of Frank Bruno here today. Okay, let's move on into the crowds, and if we talk to some more of his fans. Why are you here today?
Come to see Frank.
Yeah, what do you think to him?
Oh, he's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
And did you watch Saturday's fight?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
What did you think to it?
Oh, he deserved every bit of it. Deserved it.
And did you think all along that he was going to win McCall, beat McCall?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, got faith in him all the way.
Okay,
Brilliant.
well, thanks very much. Well, we'll leave it there for a moment at Marble Arch with all his fans and take you back now onto the open top bus and Frank Bruno and Mark Saggers.
Well, here we are back on the bus then with Big Frank and the crowds in Oxford Street. It's taken us some time to get down here. You won't see the man in picture at the moment, but you'll recognise him from around the world, Edwin Starr.
How are you?
How are you, Edwin?
I'm fine.
Now, Edwin, of course, you were there singing before the Bruno fight.
Yes.
And big mates too.
Very big mates, but for a lot of years. In fact, if you get a chance to talk to him again, he'll tell you I tipped him to be the winner.
He's a great people's champion.
The only one that's ever compared with him is Muhammad Ali.
To be sure, top of the
only one.
And that night at Wembley was something special.
Absolutely wonderful. You could not. The atmosphere was so electric, and when the announcer said, "And the new world champion," I mean, the roar was heart-rending. It was absolutely fantastic.
I think the thing as well that you get the impression of with Big Frank too is that this is a man that when you call in his house or you have breakfast with him or dinner or you see him in front of the cameras, he's the same man.
That's exactly. And that's what I think everybody likes about him. You know, as gracious in defeat as he is now, that he is the world champion.
How far can this man go?
As far as he wants to.
I mean, stateside, everybody's talking perhaps about a Tyson-Bruno fight.
It is a great possibility. The Tyson situation is November the 4th, and I'm doing that fight as well. But it could be imminent that it could wind up being Tyson and Bruno.
When did you get your interest in boxing, Edwin?
Basically from being in the States. You know, boxing is a very, very big sport there. And when I came here, it's prevalent because the first person I met was Frank, and that's how I got involved with knowing about boxing between him, Nigel Ben, people like that.
I tell you, it's not really fair to ask you to do this. Can you give us a little line of the land of hope and glory? Is there any way you could give us that on the bus?
If I start singing that, then you'll have everybody singing the land of hope and glory. Okay? Frank, you gotta sing the land of hope and glory.
Yeah, let's have a look.
I can't sing that. Just please, there 1 second.
Many thousands of fans that have come out to meet Bruno, of course. We're we're turning down to Regent Street, and we'll make our way then towards Haymarket. And my word, do they love Frank Bruno. The belt clutched in his left hand. Laura, Lynette and Frank at the front of the bus, and this is the picture that they're seeing. These fans, everybody with cameras just waiting to get a snap of Big Frank and that belt. And you can hear the chants of Bruno, Bruno. Bruno, yes, that's been the main thing we've thought about this week. Yes, now, no longer after those 3 heavy defeats at the World Heavyweight Division level. He came back for the 4th title, and really against the odds, you know, you have to say that Oliver McCall, in many people's eyes, was a big favourite for this. But Bruno went to the well once more and really changed his game plan too. He went straight at McCall early on, who didn't fancy it, and then Bruno hung on, got it right. George Francis was the man that had sorted it all out in training for him. A different approach to when he got hit. And knowing what to do, knowing to buy himself a few seconds, really got him through that fight at Wembley Stadium last week. Well, it's down Regent Street now that we go. There is a little bit of rain about, but nobody cares too much about this. And there we are, the situation from now back to Helen.
I'm going to get some. Have you seen the court here? Nigel, a bit.
Mark Saggers, it's Chris Scudder in the studio. I wonder if you can hear me.
Is that okay?
Hello, Mark, can you hear me? Well, Mark, obviously engulfed by the noise of the car horns and all the rest of it. So thousands upon thousands of people gathered around Oxford Street and Regent Street. That Frank Bruno victory parade due to head down. I'm sure it'll be a tremendous climax as well when they go through Piccadilly Circus fairly soon, and then through to Trafalgar Square, where it's all due to finish. Claude Abraham's with me from the Boxing News. Claude, could you put a figure, do you think, on how many people have gone there today? It's an awful lot, isn't it?
I couldn't begin to estimate how many people there. Probably the same amount of people that turned out to see him fight at Wembley.
Wonderful tribute, I thought, that from Edwin Starr, who himself is a legendary figure in the States, saying that the only man to compare with Frank Bruno was Muhammad Ali. That's tremendous, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, I think it shows Frank's popularity. He's just, I've been in America with Frank, and even American fans have rushed up and asked for his autograph. And it just shows how popular he is worldwide, not just in Great Britain.
Because in the past, I mean, if we're fair, people in America used to think of Frank as just another horizontal British heavyweight, didn't they? A man who would be pushed over and
that's right.
bullied.
They regarded him as a loser, but they can't tag him as a loser anymore.
Yeah, I mean, his public persona is huge, and you wonder what would happen now if and when he fights Mike Tyson.
Well, you begin to wonder what kind of an encore they could have if he actually beat Mike Tyson.
Do you think that would be a possibility? I mean, the last time Frank was beaten in the 5th, but I mean,
well,
we don't know. We really don't know, do we? What Mike Tyson would be like now, having been inside for what, 3 years?
Well, that's right. You've got to give Bruno a chance with anyone, really. He's big and strong enough, and for 3 rounds he's dangerous. So you couldn't rule out the possibility.
Well, there we are, live pictures from the victory parade. Frank Bruno and entourage. A lot of people have followed him all the way down from Marble Arch, all the way down Oxford Street. They're heading now down towards the Haymarket and down to Piccadilly Circus, and then they'll go on to Trafalgar Square, and then it'll be a victory lunch for Frank Bruno and party. Should be a tremendous afternoon ahead for them. How do you rate Frank, Claude? I mean, among British heavyweights, I mean, we know he's a massive public figure and he's pantomime past and all the rest of it, but I mean, as a fighter, how would you rate him?
As a fighter, in terms of heavyweights are getting bigger and bigger, so you would have to say probably beneath Lennox Lewis, but other than Lewis, probably the best heavyweight Britain's seen, or maybe below Joe Bugner as well, who was very good in his day. But you say Bruno's in the top 4 without any question.
If you look back to, what is he, 32 now, Frank?
Yeah, 33
now, isn't he? Yeah. To when he was a teenager, ABA champion and all the rest of it. Did you ever think that he'd go on to a day like this when there are thousands upon thousands of people on the streets of London?
Not really, no. We'd written him off on many occasions, but I've never met a more thorough professional than Frank Bruno, and a man more committed. And it's paid off. It just goes to show perseverance will pay off in the long run.
Well, pictures like this show just how popular a figure Frank is, and let's go back now live to that open-top bus, that great celebration, and Mark Saggers.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. It is absolutely pouring. with rain here, but that hasn't stopped thousands of people coming out. They're all rushing down Regent Street with the bus. Two men who are perhaps taking this all in more than most study. The men in the corner, George and Neil here. And really, these boys have done so much work with Frank to get him to the position and for the reasons why that we can be having this triumphal procession today. George Francis, trainer. I mean, the weather's terrible, but the whole day's fantastic.
Well, it's like royalties out here. I can't believe it. I've been in it 50 years. I've never seen anything like this in my life, and probably never see it again. Fantastic.
You knew this young Frank Bruno when he first came into your gym many years ago.
I did. When he was a kid of 17, he'd come in and he sparred with everybody. John Conte, and I've always said, there's the boy to keep an eye on, and he's worked wonderful.
Now, you've been with him some 8 years now.
I have.
So you've had to not only have the good times, there's been some pretty down times too that you've had to pick him up in.
Yeah, but Frank's a pro, and the work with him is wonderful. So, like, it's not been hard work. It's been a great job, and it's teamwork, but he does the actual punching.
And you all had so much belief that you could eventually get this championship.
Always. I've given up a lot of other fighters just to be with him, you know, because I always knew that he would win it. Determination, guts, and a punch.
Now, the guy on the viewer's right here is a man who's been very much part of the scene too. What's exactly been your job with Frank?
Well, Frank came to me 4 years ago, working on, and he said to me, you know, can you get me fitter, stronger, more mobile? So really, I've been his fitness trainer for the last 4 years and working with George, just trying to get him even fitter. And we worked on a lot of things, speed, especially flexibility work, and I always believed he could do it, and he's done it, and he deserves it more than anyone else I know. He's the most dedicated man I know.
George, what was it like in that corner coming to those last 2 rounds last Saturday night? What were your words to
My words, remember everything you've been told and trained for. Stay the course, which he did do. He'd been lacking that in a little bit before, but this time he knew how to do that little bit of skulldug with a little turn. It was beautiful, and he'd done it wonderful.
You know, people said he perhaps shouldn't have been going for a 4th title attempt. The whole thing was that the experience that he'd learned really stood him in good stead.
Paid off. You know, he's a late developer, Frank, and everything, all his dreams and all his work has come true on the right time.
The best is yet to come. The best is yet to come.
So, I mean, we don't realise, I mean, looks at the absolutely perfect chiseled specimen.
Sure.
But the work he must put in.
Unbelievable. You know, he's been working 4 hours a day, 6 days a week for many, many years now. But he completely deserves it. You know, he's a dedicated professional and he works so hard. And I'm so pleased for him. It's really nice.
I'll tell you what, this is some event here. We're still on this open-top bus. We're getting towards the far end of Regent Street now, down towards Piccadilly Circus. We've still got some way to go, of course, down through Haymarket and then eventually onto Trafalgar Square. Up at the front of the bus, of course, Big Frank and wife Laura really lapping this up, but my word, they do deserve it. Frank Warren's alongside him too, and the whole of the Bruno clan are here, Chris.
Mark, many thanks. Just going back to Claude Abrahams again. Claude, if you could put us into the picture about the way the heavyweight division looks at the moment. Frank Bruno is the WBC champion of the world. Now, you've got the WBA, the IBF and the WBO. Fill us in as to who holds those titles and what will happen next, do you think?
Bruce Seldon holds the WBA championship and the other 2 are vacant. The WBO was relinquished by Riddick Bowe, and the IBF title will be contested by Axel Schultz of Germany and Francois Botha of South Africa, all household names, of course. And the state of the heavyweight division at the moment is that all the best fighters don't hold any titles.
Yes.
You've got Riddick Bowe, you've got Evander Holyfield, Michael Moorer, Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson, all without titles. And somewhere along the line, the plan is for Mike Tyson to clean up with the 3 titles.
They want it together again, don't they?
Absolutely. So
the WBO
puts Bruno in the firing line,
yes,
of course.
The WBO title, I mean, that and the IBF. I mean, the WBC and the WBA, the one Frank holds and the one Bruce Seldon currently holds, those are the big 2, aren't they, really?
I think the IBF is on a par, really.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 titles that Tyson wants. He's not interested in the WBO. And
the one Frank has got in his hands there, the green bit of leather you can see, that's the WBC version of the title. It wasn't so long ago that we can remember Riddick Bowe throwing that in the dustbin, can we? And Lennox Lewis eventually got his hands on that before Oliver McCall took it away, and then Frank took it away from Oliver McCall. Frank Bruno in the rain now, and despite those very wet and soggy scenes, quite remarkably, thousands of people are filling the streets of West London today to pay tribute to the great British heavyweight now, I think we can call him, Frank Bruno, as they arrive past the statue of Eros going into Piccadilly Circus. And you have to wonder what kind of a welcome will be waiting for Frank when they get down to Trafalgar Square. They started, I suppose, what, 25 minutes or so ago. from Marble Arch, and they've come all the way down Oxford Street, down Regent Street, and heading now down towards the grand finale at Trafalgar Square before Frank celebrates with a victory lunch. All of his family on board, his daughters. He's got that son now, Franklin. The greatest day of his life, he said, originally was the birth of his son, and now to complement the whole thing, he's got that world heavyweight title belt. Frank Bruno, Britain's, I suppose, not first world heavyweight champion since the last century, because Lennox Lewis won it, but we know that Lennox did come from Canada, and Frank Bruno is a true Brit, and the fans are showing that today. Let's go back onto the bus and a very wet Mark Saggers.
Thanks very much indeed, Chris. Well, another member of the Bruno clan, of course, the brother of Frank, Michael. Michael, this is fantastic, hey?
Excellent, 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 unbelievable, even with the weather.
We've been speaking to Lynette, your mum, who said she knew from a very early age that Frank was special and that he got some steel in him to go on and make himself a great boxer.
Yeah, Franklin has always been a very committed person, and basically anything he gets his teeth into, he's going to see through, you know? And I mean, a lot of people have knocked him, you know, for being a chum or whatever. I want to see these people now come up and apologize, you know, because the man has finally achieved his goals.
What was it like for the family last Saturday night?
Oh, it was fantastic. It's indescribable, indescribably. I mean, when you wait for 16 years and you tend to read the papers and you hear people writing all kind of negative things about this man, sometimes you wonder if they're talking about the same person that we know, you know. So now it has all come true. It's like a dream, you know. Absolutely fantastic. Even on this day, which as you can see, it's pouring down with rain, it's still unbelievable.
Very much a close-knit family too, then.
Very much so. Very much so, you know. Franklin is what you see is what you get. Lovable as ever, never change. And that's what made this guy so lovable to the nation, you know.
He's always said as well that boxing was in his veins, that he had to keep going.
Yep, yep. And, you know, the rest is history, as they say. The rest is history.
It's going to be a great year, I'm sure.
Fantastic, you know. I can't see anybody taking this belt off him for now. He's only going to get better, believe me.
Okay, Michael, thanks very much indeed. There we are. These are the scenes now as we go down and through Piccadilly Circus, as we have been, down through Haymarket now, soaking wet, but who cares, on our way towards Trafalgar Square, where Helen Morton's waiting for us.
Thanks very much, Mark. Well, as you've heard, the bus is making its way down the Haymarket. It should be with us in Trafalgar Square in a few moments' time. Again, thousands of people have turned out to see Bruno today, and two of them are with me now, wearing their VB T-shirts, Victory Day for Bruno. Why are you here today?
Well, Big Frank done us proud, so we've got to come down and cheer him on, haven't we? Why not?
And you've braved the weather.
Braved the weather, and shorts as well. Shorts as well. Absolutely freezing now. But
what did you think to the fight?
Brilliant. He done absolutely brilliant. A bit lucky at the end there, but he held on and done the job.
And what do you think should be the next step? Are you hoping that he will take on Tyson?
No, I'd like to see him retire, to be honest. He's done it now. He's done a lot. So retire now, don't get hurt, and he'll stay a hero then, won't he?
All right, well, let's move on to you. Why have you come down today?
Well, because I just want to cheer him on, because I think he done really done England proud, he done us proud, and I just want to come and cheer him on and give him support.
Were you confident all the time that he'd beat Oliver McCall on Saturday night?
Well, I think it was a bit touch and go, really. I didn't actually see the fight, but I rung up from a party, and I rung up, and actually, so I thought, well, I'm glad he done it, really. I'm just really pleased.
Do you think now that he should go on to fight Tyson, or do you think he should retire at the top?
I think he should retire now, really. I just think that he's won it now, and Weiss will try to give it up. It's possible that he could lose it again, and then he's got to go from back to square one then, really, hasn't it? So.
Well, we'll let you get back to the barrier so that you can catch a glimpse of Frank. He's due here, as we said, any moment now. So let's cross back to Mark Saggers, who's with Frank Bruno on the open top bus. Back to you, Mark.
Thanks very much indeed, Helen. Well, we have turned towards Trafalgar Square. Frank Bruno in front of him now, of course, has the National Gallery. And alongside, both sides, of course, many people waiting to see him in the pouring rain. The WBC World Heavyweight Champion. It all started, of course, some 13 years ago for Frank, and his dream at that stage for this raw, big, punching talent of a man was to make it all the way to the top. He was first, of course, denied by Tim Witherspoon, a man really that he should have done better against, but was knocked down in the 11th round. Then Of course, as well as that, we had the great Mike Tyson fight. Frank put up such a fight against him. But Mike Tyson, at that stage, at his raw, mean best. But Frank is going to have a second go back at Tyson a little later on. And then, of course, came the third chance against Lennox Lewis. So for 4 or 5 rounds, you know, Frank really was in charge of that one. But again, he missed out. Until last Saturday night, Oliver McCall was there for the taking. And this man took him. And now you can see the thousands of people here in Trafalgar Square as we move from Pall Mall, East Pall Mall, towards Trafalgar Square.
I've got Nelson behind you, see?
Just a shot, really.
Quickly, Frank, give us a salute.
High on the column. High on the column of He salutes the crowd. Is Nelson himself, another man, of course, victorious for Britain. He's now looking down on this scene of Trafalgar Square. We go past the National Gallery and the many people.
Great stuff, Frank.
What's more, Frank loves this because he's part of it. He's the people's champion, the man that everybody wanted to see. Everybody wanted to see so well. And Bruno has done it. Frank, Michael, Frank, this is absolutely magnificent.
Yeah, very, very unbelievable. It's nice when it turned out, especially in a wet weather like this. Unbelievable.
Stop right. Another man here who's been very much followed by Frank's scene, Eric Barnard.
Yeah, that's his uncle.
Hey, Eric, you've been with this man a long time.
Oh, from my baby. I raised him up myself, helped raise him up too, and he is now.
He's tough too.
Fantastic.
But got that gentle side of him.
That's the view of Trafalgar Square this lunchtime. Frank Bruno's victory parade. Many, many thousands of fans are paying tribute to Britain's WBC World Heavyweight Champion. And as you see, many of those supporters and fans, well-wishers, following the bus all the way down from the start of the victory parade, which began at Marble Arch about 40 minutes or so ago. They've come down Oxford Street, Regent Street, and really has been quite a moving tribute to Frank Bruno. We always knew he was Britain's most popular sportsman, but this is ridiculous, I think. Huge crowds following the bus, and on that bus for us, live on Sky News, is Mark Saggers.
Well, thanks very much indeed, Chris. Now, we've done the route halfway around Trafalgar Square here. Everybody was at East Pall Mall by the National Gallery waiting to meet their big hero. And they're making a big dash across Trafalgar Square now as we move towards the Strand on our left. And everybody just wants a picture of this man, a picture of the man and his belt. Number one, you can see many of the fans holding up their index fingers here. Number one, that's Frank Bruno. The Union Jack's in many people's hands as well, because it is the people's champion. It's a day the big Frank won't forget in a long, long time. He's at the front of the bus now with his brother Michael alongside him. Laura, his wife, has seen him through many dark days as well, as happier times as we have now. And Nicola and Rachel, his 2 children. Franklin Jr., of course, is back home. No place for Franklin Jr. here today. But as we now pull round Trafalgar Square, Admiralty Arch in the background, but the Lions greeting a lion at Trafalgar Square. Bruno and his fans as one with the WBC World Heavyweight Champion. Don't know if Frank is actually going to stop and have a little bit of a chat with any of the fans here today. There were perhaps plans for a little bit of a walkabout here at Trafalgar Square, but he's going on to a big thank you lunch where Frank is going to thank many of his very close friends who've been a part of the career building and very much part of his life over the last 13 years. And Frank's just chuckling his way. He's chuckled his way all around London today. And, well, let's just enjoy this scene.
at the scenes at Trafalgar Square as we speak. A great British hero, Lord Nelson, looking down on a new one. Frank Bruno, the new WBC World Heavyweight Champion, and those his adoring public have come to pay tribute to a tremendous sporting performance. The only British man, Frank Bruno, to win the World Heavyweight title in the ring this century. There was Herbie Hyde, who won the WBO fairly recently, but he, of course, was born in Nigeria. And Lennox Lewis, who grew up in Canada, was handed the same WBC version of the belt when Riddick Bowe threw it in a bin a year or two ago. Can you quite believe it, Mark, all the attention Frank's getting?
I don't know if you can believe it or not, really. You've got to expect this of the man, haven't you? Because he's had... Sorry? You can believe all this, Frank. It's magnificent. He does really believe it. He can't believe that perhaps so many people have turned out to see him. I don't know why, because over many, many years, of course, as we keep saying, really, he has proved the people's champion. And let's remember, for a Briton to be world heavyweight champion is the dream that we've not had for so many years. Lennox Lewis, of course, was the first as far as the record books are concerned, but many different people will say the first true British heavyweight champion this century is Franklin Bruno. And, well, it's a special moment for him. I remember his expression, really, on the fight, straight afterwards when the result came through, Chris, and you could just see the pleasure on that smile from him then, and we've seen it again here today. And it's been a magnificent occasion.
Just a quick question, Mark, if you can hear me. Is the baby on board, Franklin?
No, little Franklin's only 5 months old, and the problem with little Franklin is that he eats so much. He's up to 2 stone now, would you believe?
He's the next British heavyweight champion.
He eats a lot, but he also brings a lot of it back, if I can put it that way. And the lovely blue suit didn't want to get spoiled today. But Franklin's tucked up in bed at home. But of course, he's around pride and joy of Dad. And it'll be interesting to see. Franklin Jr. is very much part of Frank Bruno and his career, whatever future career Frank Bruno has, inside or outside the ring.
That's the shot you'll be seeing in the papers tomorrow, no doubt. The press pack all jammed into the open top bus in front of the Frank Bruno carriage. There's his daughter, his eldest daughter, I think, holding up the WBC version of the belt. For the press photographers in front, and Frank, they're just holding court with his subject down in front of the bus. They've been going almost 3/4 of an hour now, but no sign of this party stopping. Great scenes in Trafalgar Square. It's almost like New Year's Eve, isn't it? All the revellers, there, the fountains. And there they are, all those fans. They really have been packed all around the square, and Frank Bruno shows no signs of tiring. He said he expected about 10 people to turn up today, but more like 10,000, I would think, if not more than that. And many of them have followed him all the way down on this victory parade. Almost as if a team has won the FA Cup or something like that. It's really remarkable, these scenes, that the fans who love him so much. And I think many people thought that Frank would not win the World Heavyweight Championship, having lost 3 times, tried, and then the great moment last weekend when he beat Oliver McCall to take that title. Rain pouring down, but I don't think anyone minds too much at the moment. Union Jacks, great sea of emotion, and scenes that Frank Bruno, I'm quite sure, will forget, or never forget, remember, for the rest of his life. So that's the aerial shot from our airship over West London, looking down on the... you see the traffic there stopping as well. Plenty of people wanting to get a glimpse of Frank as they go past. It could only be Great Britain, couldn't it, really? London, great city, and the new British sporting hero, and so he'll remain, I've no doubt, for probably a century to come.
You don't get that crowd, mate. You don't get that
Sorry? Yeah, happy birthday to you, mate.
That's the glove he used to dispose of it. Let's go back to Mark Saggers on board.
Well, Frank, what a marvellous occasion.
very, very marvellous occasion, Mark. Unbelievable. I don't want to sound like a parrot, but I thought it was only going to be about 10 people here. I wanted to pay some people to come and shout, but it's unbelievable. Very nice, especially with the rain and that. Very special.
They've all come to Britannia.
Well, Queen Britannia, yeah? I forgot the words. I know to hum it. You behave yourself, son.
Here we are. Edwin Starr is going to come in and give us a bit of Royal Britannia here.
Come on, just the Frank. Rule Britannia, Britannia rules the world. Come on, sing! Britannia, Britannia rules the world. Never shall be For he's a jolly good man. For he's a jolly good man. For he's a jolly good man. That's what I say all of us. That's what I say all of us. That's what I say all of us. For he's a jolly good man. For he's a jolly good man. For he's a jolly good man. That's what I say all of us.
Waiting here in Trafalgar Square for the bus to move on. There are many, many people. I think we'd like to move on.
Yeah, no problem. Get moving on.
Okay, well, sure, yeah, we will do. Frank, because you've got the other important side of today, of course, for Frank is that he's got a big celebration lunch to go to. Many of his very close friends. Little Harry's coming today, isn't he?
Yes. Mark, can we get the bus moving, man, because the rain's starting. Please, Mark.
Eddie's our bus driver. We'll get that sorted out for you. Somebody, so we'll sort that out. We'll get the bus moving. We're off on our way, I believe. Eddie's second now, and well, the scene is it's one of calm, and they've seen him raise that WBC green and gold belt many times, and I think for the moment, Chris, we're going to continue this parade and move on towards Park Lane. When did you win it? How'd you do that?
No, it's all right.
Okay. Well, there we are. That's the scene here. The buses are going to move on very shortly. Helen Morton is somewhere in this huge crowd too at Trafalgar Square.
Thanks, Mark. Well, we've had singing, we've had cheering, we've had flag waving here at Trafalgar Square. Frank Bruno really has had an incredible reception from the tens of thousands of people that have gathered here today. He stopped the bus for a moment, but it's now preparing to leave the crowd, and Bruno's going on for a Victory Day lunch with many of the people that he thinks are responsible for Saturday night's victory with Oliver McCall. He's been proudly showing off the WBC heavyweight belt today, making sure that everybody's got a glimpse of it. Of course, he spent 9 years trying to win it. This was his 4th attempt. He was beaten by Lennox Lewis and beaten by Mike Tyson, and he finally made it on Saturday night with Oliver McCall. So there you have it from Trafalgar Square. Lots of happy people today. They've really had their fair chance to see their sporting hero, and they've obviously really enjoyed themselves here today. Let's hand you back now to the studio and Chris Scudder.
Thank you very much, Helen. I think the size of that celebration caught everyone by surprise today. With me is Claude Abrahams of the Boxing News. Would you agree with that, Claude? It was fantastic, wasn't it?
Oh, tremendous, yeah. Tremendous.
Now let's remind ourselves then of Frank's past. I mean, we did say and we did think that maybe his chance of winning the world heavyweight title had gone. Remember 1986 when he fought Tim Witherspoon? And this is what happened. When he was knocked out in the 11th round, I think it was, when Frank just... He was winning on points, wasn't he, that day? And lost it.
I think he was marginally behind, but he'd made a great start. And as had always been the case with Bruno, seemed to just run out of steam at the end.
Yeah. 1986 that was, 9 years ago, when he was, what, 24 years old. And that was the first attempt, but of course he then got a meeting with Mike Tyson in 1989. Not many people held up too much hope for Frank, and that's the way it turned out, but he certainly gave him a scare, didn't he?
Yeah, he had that one moment in the first round when he landed that left hook, and from then on it was survival for Bruno, but he still lived off the glory of that one punch.
Yeah. And this was the end of the fight. We're going back live to the celebrations fairly soon, by the way, but this is just looking back at Frank's previous attempts to win the greatest prize in sport, as they called it, the 5th round, and Bruno stopped by Mike Tyson. And who knows, we wonder if Bruno will be fighting Mike Tyson again in the next 12 months or so. Do you think that's a realistic now? Is that the most likely option, Claude, do you think?
Well, I don't know about it being the most likely option, but there are two very serious options for Bruno, and one is Tyson and one is Lennox Lewis. And I think if Bruno's people could make the choice, then they will go for Tyson.
Yeah, now Don King has a major role to play in this, doesn't he? He's muscled in on British boxing, hasn't he, in the last 12 months or so, and he's a big, big player on the world stage.
Well, King has regained his control of the world heavyweight division, and he'll be looking to put Tyson in with Bruno because there's pressure from Lennox Lewis's people to make the match, and obviously that they want to be in the position to fight Mike Tyson as well, and that means getting the title off Bruno.
Lewis's camp, Frank Maloney, his promoter and manager, says that he is the next challenger because he's the mandatory one with the WBC.
Well, Tyson is in fact the mandatory challenger. He's the #1 contender, but apparently there was an agreement at the WBC convention which stated that the winner of McCall and Bruno must meet the winner of the eliminator between Lennox Lewis and Lionel Butler, and Lewis won that fight.
Okay. Well, that's all in the future. Frank Bruno, for the very moment, is enjoying himself largely with those great crowds at the Bruno Victory Parade in central London, and our man on the bus is Mark Saggers.
Thanks very much indeed, Chris. We've spent some 10 minutes or so with Frank and his many fans at Trafalgar Square. The bus is now moving on to Park Lane, where there is a celebration lunch. Frank Warren alongside me. This has been a fantastic
it's unbelievable. They're taking Nelson's statue down now and they're going to put Frank Bruno's up there. It's been fantastic.
The people's champion. We don't really need to say too much more, do we?
That's it. I mean, it's tremendous, and the warmth towards him from all the people is unbelievable. It's marvellous stuff.
It's been a great day, and he's now going along, which is very much part of Frank, to celebrate with some of the close friends that perhaps we don't know about who've been a part of this setup over the 13 years.
That's right. Well, the 13 years and the people who've helped towards the show, you know, all the family and everything. It should be a good afternoon. I hope so, anyway. I'm sure they'll all enjoy themselves.
And for you too, Frank, it's a real pep to your career too. I mean, it's been important for you, and Sports Network and Don King as well across the other side in the States seem to have got things together.
It's been great, you know. It's I mean, I can't. I mean, it's a pinnacle for me, and you know, I mean, what's happening here is tremendous. But you know, this is Frank's day, though. This is Frank. We all helped a little bit towards it, but he's the guy who got in the ring and actually did the business.
There he is up front of the bus now with Nicola, his eldest daughter, and with Laura and with Rachel. It's been very much part their day too, and well, the rain's never beaten Frank Bruno, and it's certainly not beaten him today as the bus now speeds away from the many crowds. And perhaps if we can, we'll try and get a final word with Frank just before we leave you. Frank, if we could just have a very final word. It's been a great day so far.
Very nice, unbelievable, Mark. You know what I mean? I'm just grateful for everybody that turned out today, everybody that organised it, everybody that was participating, Sky, Sports Network, everybody. Thank you very much, Mark. Very kind of you.
Thank you too, and have a great afternoon, and enjoy being heavyweight champion.
Cheers. Thank you very much, Mark. And I know everybody listening and watching the Sky. Take it easy. Thank you very much. A lovely day. Nice one. Cheers.
So there we are. Frank says a nice one. We don't really have to say any more than that, do we? We've spent the last hour with the WBC heavyweight champion of the world, Frank Bruno, and his victory parade through the streets of London.
Mark Saggers, many thanks indeed. We'll see how he won that title in a couple of seconds or so when he took the title off Oliver McCall, of course, last weekend. But just remind ourselves again of his third attempt to win the world title. This was the fourth, a successful one. Claude Abrahams from the Boxing News lost to Lennox Lewis, and again, that was expected, wasn't it, in Cardiff, October 1993?
Yeah, it's probably Bruno's finest hour, I think, the best I've ever seen him box, and I thought he performed better against Lewis than he did against McCall.
We had all the razzmatazz that night, the Battle of Britain, they called it, but in many people's eyes, Frank was the true Brit, and I was there that night, Claude, you obviously were as well, and the bulk of the support, no doubt about it, was for Frank Bruno, and many people were willing him to win that night. You could see how hyped up he was. Lennox Lewis entering the ring now, and he was the champion, of course, then, Lennox, and it's funny how times change. Lennox Lewis now wants a piece of Frank Bruno. He wants to get that title back, and Bruno, do you think Claude was ahead on points before it was stopped that night?
Oh, no question, no question.
Yeah.
It's amazing that the three men that have beaten Bruno in world title fights are still all active today, and none of them have got the title.
Frank there is a battle scar. I think it was less marked last weekend, which you might expect having won it, but this was the end of Frank Bruno's third attempt to win the greatest prize in sport. Lennox Lewis, ruthless finish, and Frank so gamely standing up, and he showed that again last weekend, but there was no way he was going to get out of that one with his senses intact. He was very, very brave that night, but Mickey Vann, the referee there, stopping it, about to stop it, and Lennox Lewis making short work in the end of Britain's favourite son, and the WBC title going to Lennox Lewis. That was October 1993, and I think at that stage many people, didn't they, Claude, thought that Frank should really hang up his gloves. They didn't think going to get another chance of a shot at the title, but he did.
That's heavyweight boxing for you, and with 4 titles around,
yeah.
Anybody's going to get a chance at the title. You know, Bruno's as worthy as any other, and now he's the champion. There's no looking back now. Bruno he's fulfilled the lifetime's ambition.
And so it came to be. It was September 1995 at Wembley Stadium when the fans flocked to see the King, Frank Bruno, and so it turned out as he took the WBC version of the World Heavyweight Championship off Oliver McCall, the man who'd taken the title off for Lennox Lewis, of course, who we just saw beating Frank Bruno. This is how it happened, the closing stages of the fight. He was very, very tired, wasn't he, Claude, that night? He'd been so far ahead on points, but I mean, if the fight had gone another round, do you think he might have lost it?
It's hypothetical, isn't it, really? You could say in a 15-round fight, Bruno would have maybe paced himself differently, and
yeah.
He fought to win over 12 rounds, and that's exactly what he did.
Totally exhausted, but you can see what it meant to the people of Great Britain. And there's George Francis. You could see how emotional he was earlier, and how astounded he was by the turnout of all the fans who turned out in West London today on that Frank Bruno victory parade. So there it was, champion of the world. We've seen how the fans reacted today. Let me ask Claude Abrahams from the Boxing News finally. Claude, what does the future hold for Frank, do you think?
A lot of money, that's for sure. I think one more big fight. I'd like to see Frank call it a day, because he's reached the pinnacle of his career, and I'd like to see him go out a winner. But I think he's tempted by the rematch with Mike Tyson.
And that will happen?
I got a feeling it's going to happen, but I can't say for sure.
Claude, many thanks for joining us today. It's been a great day for Frank Bruno, and let us leave you with the marvellous scenes from the west of London today as Frank Bruno and the British public paid tribute to Britain's first British-born true world champion this century since Bob Fitzsimmons in 1897. These were the scenes a short time ago under the eyes of one British legend, Lord Admiral Nelson, looking down on another now. Frank Bruno, the new heavyweight champion of the world, and the thousands of fight fans, not only fight fans, the general public who have come to love this most public figure. And there he is, the green WBC World Heavyweight Championship belt, which he'd cherished all his life, and he's got it on a marvellous day, not just for him, but for Great Britain and the British sporting public. Frank Bruno, heavyweight champion of the world, and he's off to enjoy a sporting lunch in his tribute.